investing is inherently risky, and turnkey rental properties are no exception to this. Now, turnkey rental properties are, however, on the lower end of the risk spectrum in real estate investing in general and rental property investing specifically. So that's the good news. However, it does not mean that they're perfect and that things never go wrong. In 12 years now of me buying my own turnkeys and helping hundreds of people buy turnkeys, I have sat back and watched if something goes drastically wrong, what caused it? And here's the good news. In all of that time, I have only seen 3 things cause a problem with turnkey rental properties. I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are, quite simply. So if you're buying turnkeys, or even at this point, if you own turnkeys already, you can just keep an eye out for them. Not all of them may apply to you, by the way, which is great news, but they are important to be aware of. So let's dive in. What are the 3 things that I have seen cause turnkey rental properties to go bad? As investments, they become unprofitable. What is the problem? The first one, and if you only hear one of these 3 things, this is the one I want you to hear, because this one applies to everybody in every scenario, and it's the most common of the problems. I don't know if you're going to want to hear this, but the responsibility is on you. It's a user-operator error, if you will. That number 1 thing is a lack of due diligence. Something about turnkey rental properties, probably because they're advertised as hands-off and they are good for getting started and everything should be done for you. Something about the messaging prompts people to not do thorough due diligence. I have seen this bite people, and I am one of those people. I have seen this bite people over and over and over. If you don't know how to do thorough due diligence on a turnkey rental property, which is not freakishly different than any other rental property, I have a guide that I created that spells out all of the details of not only what you should be verifying prior to buying the turnkey rental property, but how to verify it. Click the link below if you want to get that. But regardless of whether you need help with due diligence or not, the point remains. A lack of due diligence I have seen consistently over and over get people in trouble. Here's some examples. Property inspection. When the property inspection comes back, I'm going to put a video below, by the way, to help you understand how to navigate the turnkey inspection process. But when the inspection report comes back, it's one thing to identify if the provider is going to repair all of the things that were brought up in that report. It's another thing to make sure that they actually do it. I have seen so many cases where whether the provider said they were going to fix said thing or not, it gets people in trouble because the provider didn't do it. And guess who has to foot the bill when it has to get done later? A bad or old hot water heater. Guess what? Once you close on the property, you're going to be the one to pay for it. Ensure that they do the repairs as stated. The other way that it gets people in trouble, and this is specific to closing on a turnkey that's vacant, I'll put another video below about the risk of closing on a turnkey vacant versus with tenants already in it. But if you're closing on a turnkey vacant, time and time again, people don't do the due diligence on the estimated rent or the rentability of the property. And when it comes time to actually get it rented out, it rents for way less than the projected number. This falls into your due diligence. All of these things affect your bottom line. Repairs later, vacancy periods, lower rents. This is what gets an investor in trouble. And yes, everything that's advertised with a turnkey rental property, if everything's perfect, all of those things will be advertised correctly. Guess what? We're not in a perfect world, despite what you may think. You have to do the due diligence on all of those items. So again, if you don't feel confident in your due diligence, check out my document below and that'll help you. Or reach out to me, leave a comment, ask your questions. I'm happy to help. If I were to only drive home 1 point for my 12 years of experience in turnkey rental properties, I would literally be shouting due diligence from the rooftops. It is a consistent problem, and I'm begging everybody to do thorough due diligence. Now, if you're busy and you have to go make dinner, if you don't hear the other two, okay, fine. Okay, who invites people to leave their YouTube videos? Don't leave the video. But I say that to say the due diligence is 95% of the problems all the time. Now, the two quicker ones that may or may not apply to you. The second reason people's turnkeys have gotten in trouble, just freak of nature things that you could not have predicted. I know that sounds like really bad news because there's nothing you can do about it, but the good news is it can bring you out of this mindset of having to find the perfect property. The perfect property doesn't exist, and there's some freak of nature things, forces of nature, that you never could have planned for. I'll throw a video down below about why it's important not to wait for the perfect property, and it's because of this reason. Freak of nature things can just happen. It's not about whether they're going to happen or not. It's about how you handle it, how you fix it, and how you move on from it, and what you learn from it. That's it. Freak of nature things I have seen take out a couple properties. And of hundreds, maybe thousands of turnkeys, I mean, I've only seen this happen 2 times, 3 times. So don't be super fearful of this one, but I do want you to be aware for several reasons why that is a possibility. The last thing I've seen people get in trouble with, and this may not apply to you at all, is if you're doing the BRRRRkey model, which is you're combining the BRRRR strategy with rental properties with the turnkey model. I will link to a video below that goes into depth about what a BRRRRkey actually is, but if you're familiar with that term, maybe it's listed as BRRRR plus turnkey. That can get people in more trouble because it is a riskier version of turnkeys, and that video that I'm linking below will explain exactly what that risk is. So, bringing it back, literally only 3 things I have seen people get in trouble with on a turnkey. First and foremost, the biggest one, lack of due diligence, and that's on the turnkey buyer's part. Sorry, it's your fault. I don't want to take responsibility off the provider, but it's not usually intentional that something gets messed up. So do your due diligence. Number 2, freak of nature things can just happen. Is how you handle it. And number 3, if you're going the BRRRRkey route, that can get people in trouble for the risk factors that I mentioned in that video. So go down below, check out all the videos and the resources I just explained, and really take those to heart because I don't want you getting in trouble with a turnkey. It's such an amazing strategy. I want everyone involved, and if there's any way to avoid something negative coming from a turnkey, I want you to avoid it. So check out all of those resources and leave your stories, thoughts, comments down below in the comment section. Smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you get my videos every single week in your inbox.